Master horse racing with daily racing forms Formulator, now free for DRF Bets members. Sign up to get the best bonus in racing with a $250 deposit match, plus a $10 free bet and free Formulator past performances. Go to drf.com/bet to play like a pro today.
Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, kicking off a pick 5 at Pimlico on Black Eyed Susan Friday. Race number 9 is the $100,000, the very one. Fillies and mares going 5/8 of a mile on the turf. Let's take a look at this field. It's a full field. It's a competitive group. Your morning line favorite is the number 2, Trained to Artemis, who won a stakes race with a perfect trip 3 starts back at Tampa Bay. And let's be honest, didn't run very well last time out at Keeneland.
Yeah, tougher race for her last time at Keeneland for sure. This feels like a much better spot for her, Dan. But as you've sort of already alluded to, this is kind of a wide open race. It kind of feels like a lot of different things can happen here, and a lot of different horses can win. And I don't know about you, the way I started it off, I kind of didn't want the horse who was going to be the favorite.
And I'm not sure who's going to make the lead as well. We throw up the Timeform US pace projector, and you'll note that both horses trained by Wesley Ward, the 8 Spicy Marge, the 9 Her World, these are horses that can show some speed. I'm not positive about Whiskey and Rye. The 4 Can the Queen won this race on the lead last year. She's going to show some speed. I'm not sure Her World can be as effective from off the pace, and I think that's a question that the 11 Get the Candy has to answer as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's usually the right place to start when you're trying to find horses who are going to show speed. If Wesley Ward has one in there, or in this case has 2, you could probably expect them to show some speed, and I think they will. Both the 8 and the 9, I think, are fast enough, Dan. I think you're right also about the 4 Can the Queen, who should be forward. Get the Candy, showed good speed at Gulfstream off the layoff last time, so maybe that horse will go. It's kind of up in the air, though, who makes the lead.
There's a chance this pace does heat up, however, and you'll notice that the number 5, Thundering Creed, has that LP flag over the chiclet, which notates the fastest late pace rating on Timeform US. Thundering Creed should come running in the stretch. We'll start things off with the 1 Whiskey and Rye, who is winless on turf. She's shown some ability on the grass. She's shown some ability on the dirt. She has speed. It just seems like this is a very tough spot for her to switch surfaces.
Yeah, that I kind of looked at it the same way, especially if this pace is going to wind up being on the faster side. I feel like that could kind of work against her in here. We'll see. I mean, I will say the last time that she ran on turf, the first start for this trainer after a trainer change, I didn't think she ran that poorly in that race, Dan. She was contesting the pace with a pretty good horse and wound up 4th as the two closers came along.
Trained to Artemis is the number 2. She's won half of her 14 lifetime starts. Kelly Breen has done a great job with this horse after claiming her for $35,000. She got a stakes race after shooting up the inside to win the Lightning City 3 starts back. She then ran okay at Gulfstream. And last time out, while she didn't run up to par, you're right, she was in against better horses. I mean, the winner of that race, Twilight Gleaming, would be favored in here.
Yeah, probably be pretty strongly favored in here. I'll give her a pass for that one, although you maybe would have liked to see her do a little more running than that, Dan. Her prior turf form is obviously very good, and I respect the fact that she can get the right trip in this race. You know, I mean, personally, you know, we saw a lot of her in New York last year. I never thought that she was necessarily a stakes horse, but she did win a stakes 3 starts back. I mean, I guess she fits right in here. I just wouldn't take her at a short price.
The number 3 is Lamos Kunha, who's going to be looking for a fast pace up front because she does not have a lot of early speed at all. The last time we saw her on turf was at Keeneland 3 starts back. She fell behind. She came with a late run to only pass a couple of tired horses. I think she has a lot to answer in terms of a class situation, and I'm not sure she's the overall best closer in this race. You do get Rosario at a price.
Yeah, I could agree with most of that stuff, and I guess we'll just wait and see what kind of price she is here, Dan. If nothing else, it does kind of feel like there's a chance that she really has something to run at late in this race, and if maybe Rosario can work out the right trip for her, she can come running at the end and get a piece of this. When she ran that race at Kentucky Downs in early September last year, I mean, almost got there at a huge price, but that was one of those situations where she got a great trip into a pace.
Can the Queen, the number 4, won this race last year in gate-to-wire fashion. It's worth noting that she did have a prep run coming in. She ran in the King T. Leatherberry as the prep for the very one. Now, she's coming into this race straight off of the layoff against some other speeds. I do like the way she won this race last year, however. She took pace pressure and she kept on going.
Yeah, I like that performance from her too, and it kind of just feels like she really likes it here at Pimlico. All of her starts here are really good, and while I realize that she had the race off the layoff last year, Dan, that first start back against Colts in the Leatherberry, she ran really well that day. I think she was ready off the layoff, and then just found a much better spot in the second start when she won this race. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that her good race gives her a real chance in here, and she's one of those horses who doesn't need the lead to be effective.
Thunder and Creed is the number 5. You can make the argument that she's the best late runner in this race. She really handled the quirky configuration at Kentucky Downs very well 3 starts back, going 6.5 furlongs, swinging 4 wide into the stretch and grinding it out. And then in the Franklin 2 starts back, she came from way off of the pace to run second to Caravel, who's doubtlessly the best turf sprinter in the country. Caravel would come back and win the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. I just wonder if the last race at Turfway was a situation of too much after a long year. I like that they've given her time since that race. She's got to get out of the gate. She's often slow.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see if things work out for her. I mean, if nothing else, they've run her twice on turf. They're both pretty good performances. Even the second to Caravel, where, listen, I mean, you can go back and watch the replay of that race. Joe Rocco did everything right and gave her a great trip, but she was running at the end of that race.
Swan Glass has always been an honest horse, ran in a tough allowance race last time out at Aqueduct. The 3rd-place finisher of that race came back to run second in the license fee, a stake in New York with a 90 Beyer speed figure. And she's a sort of horse that's not really a true one-run closer, but can settle in mid-pack. And I think that running style is going to really help her in case this race heats up early from a pace standpoint.
I feel the same way about her, and I could throw her in there at a price. I mean, I think the 10-1 morning line is more than fair on her because I do think she's a contender in here, Dan. Maybe the trip will work out. I question how good she actually is, and I do feel like there are a few others in this race who, if they show up with their really good race, maybe Spun Glass just can't beat them. That being said, that most recent start at Aqueduct, she had no chance in there. That was a really slow pace she was trying to close into.
Golden Effect, the 7, is entered main track only. So we'll move on to the 8, Spicy Marge. And when you're playing this card on Friday with your DRF Bets account and you get those free Formulator past performances, click on Wesley Ward's name. And this is one of his specialties. Ward off of layoffs of 6 months or greater coming back in turf sprints. That being said, I really didn't love Spicy Marge's most recent race at Belmont, a situation where, as at Keeneland, a situation where she got to the front, the pace wasn't very fast, and she got tired.
I agree with you. I didn't think she ran well in that race. Prior to that, Can the Queen handled her pretty easily after this horse got clear on the lead in that race. And even when she won at Saratoga prior to that, off of a little bit of a layoff, I mean, she was pretty desperate to hold on at the end of that race. She's fast. Maybe she's dangerous off the layoff. I wouldn't take a short price on this horse either.
Her World also goes out for Ward. And you have a feeling that this one might have a little bit more upside potential than Spicy Marge. Here's her most recent start. She certainly has the recency edge. This was last month in a second-level allowance, and Arad Ortiz made sure to keep her well off of the rail, turning for home. She made the lead from the start, but she's getting tired in the stretch, and she almost blows a 2-length lead at the 8th pole. The runner-up, though, is in very good form. Would come back to win a second-level allowance at Churchill with an 85 Beyer.
Yeah, I do. I think that horse that's running at her up the inside here late is pretty good, but she's, far from a superstar. And this horse was pretty desperate to hold on. We'll see, Dan. Maybe she just needed the race. I respect the fact that she's really lightly raced for Ward, and maybe she'll take a big step forward in this race. To me, though, she's another one where I think you want to be careful taking too short a price on her. It's possible she gets hooked up early in this race. And aside from her debut, the only start as a 2-year, but she ran really well and then missed a lot of time, only got 2 starts in last year, missed time again. I mean, I think there are real questions surrounding this horse if she's a short price.
The 10 Queen Sheba is going to be a big price, and she did get a prep run last time out in an allowance race at Laurel with the long stretch at 5.5 furlongs. There was a pretty solid pace for her to run at that day, and she sort of finished evenly. She should benefit from a fitness standpoint off that race, but there are tons of class questions she has to address. Not sure if she's a stakes horse at this point in her career.
Yeah, has to improve by a lot against this field. We'll see if she's going to be able to do that. They did try her in one stakes race last year in New York. She was nowhere.
Get the Candy was claimed by Michael Maker for $35,000 last summer at Belmont Park, and she's won twice for Maker since. This is her best performance by far. It came in her first start off a little bit of a layoff, and maybe, just maybe, she needed that time off to kind of find herself because she showed good speed. She puts this odds-on favorite away, and she stays strong to the wire. Now, she has done her best running when on the lead. It's hard to imagine her making the lead from this far outside post, but she might be a good price yet again, and she's in good form for a good trainer.
Yeah, that's what the only thing that held me back, Dan, is that she's got the far outside with a lot of speed to her inside. And I kind of agree with you. I think she needs the lead to be at her best. Listen, maybe Maker's just gotten the best out of her now, though, Dan. She did run really well off the layoff last time.
That's the main concern for me. But as we put up our top picks, I can't resist that morning line price. I don't really want the favorites in here. So I went with Get the Candy on top. I do respect the two coming from off the pace, but I'm not sure I really want to take a short price. Can the Queen, you made a very good point. She likes Pimlico. She won this race last year. She's probably going to get a good trip and be in the thick of things when they turn for home.
That's why I took her on top. I thought I really struggled with this race, Dan. I really didn't know what to do in here. I'll just wait and see how they bet it. I don't know who's going to be the favorite, but whoever it is, I don't really want that horse. I'm hoping that the Queen goes off about that morning line here off the layoff. I went 4-5.
Mike's going 4-5. I'm going 11-2-5-9. We're kicking off a pick 5 on Black Eyed Susan Friday with the very one for filly and mare sprinters. Good luck.